Um, for the control, tomorrow you will not be contact. Dr. Vignesh will be giving me instead of me for the process control. Okay, and I think he will continue until the end for the process control, so I can have a little bit of extra space to breathe. I guess I have been giving the process control, but you guys are welcome to contact me at any time if you need anything on the process control as well. I think you need to look up for the deadline for the due date of the submission for your project 1 on the process control, and also on the laboratory report. Okay, the good thing this semester is that you are able to go and do your face-to-face session in the lab with us, which is very good, because otherwise we feel there is no interaction at all. Okay, so continuing on the week 8 of the process modeling. So my lecture will go on until week 12. Okay, so week 12 is actually week 12 in the Canvas. There is a slide for the week 13 that I probably will not cover because it's only on the parameter estimation. It's something related with the linear regression and the nonlinear regression, but you can read the slide by yourself. So I think all the materials for the process modeling will be finished until week 11 in the Canvas, which is week 12. I mean, if we refer with respect to the tuition week. Okay, but the modeling will be finished until week 11. Week 12 will be a little bit of the material on the process optimization. Process optimization we will not cover too much because otherwise the coverage will be very superficial, meaning that you cannot really cover so much on the process modeling. In process modeling, you need to go and have another unit that will cover all the process mode optimization, something related with the integer, mixed integer, nonlinear programming, linear programming, something like that. Okay. So in week 8 in here, I think on the last week we have discussed about the development of the distributed model. So in this week, we talk about the steady-state distributed model. So steady-state distributed model meaning that you don't have any variable of time that comes into play in your model. If you do have a steady-state distributed model, then this will result in a set of differential equations. Okay. If your system is in one space dimension, meaning you will have a set of ordinary differential equations. If your system is in two or more space dimension, then you will have a set of partial differential equation. This differential equation describes static relation between a set of variables and how this variable change in space. Why it is called static? Because there is no time variable, so meaning it is not a dynamic. It's not a dynamic model. A dynamic implies that there will be a change in the time with respect to your model. Okay, I noticed that your tutorial for the process control only 7 people attend. That one is actually quite important for you that are that have a goal to go with the process control in the industry, because Aspen Plus, when you go with the first tutorial, it will go in the steady state. Then after that, in the second tutorial, you will convert that steady state into a dynamic model. Okay, and then you will go and start on installing the control for the distillation column. So I would encourage everybody, if possible, you watch the recording for the tutorials from Hannah. That 3 tutorial is actually very important. Just we don't put assessment for the tutorial component into this semester, into this unit for this year. If I'm the unit convener for process control, I probably will carry out assessment for that Aspen Plus Dynamics, but I will not be the unit convener for process control, I think, for next year. Anyway, the bottom line is that if possible, you try to master or understand how to use an Aspen Plus Dynamic, because it is a very valuable skill for you. Okay. So instead, if I continue back into this slide, steady-state distributed model. Okay. For distributed model, because we are dealing with the boundary conditions in here, so normally this is a distributed model is something that we talk about is something related with the boundary conditions. Okay, so the properties are known on the border of the space in a tube. So the inlet conditions or the outlet conditions. Okay, if it is something in the beginning in the inlet, then it's called the initial condition. Properties on the border is called the boundary conditions or boundary values. Therefore, when we talk about a steady-state distributed system simulation, we essentially talk about a boundary value problem. These are something that are very, very much covered in transfer phenomena. So next semesters, when you take transfer phenomena with me, then you will learn a lot of these boundary conditions. It's different with the process control because the process control deals a lot with the transient model. Sometimes you deal with the transient distributed model that you simplify further. So you make the transient distributed model into a transient Lam model, meaning that or only a property even if the property of a certain systems is the property of a system, a certain property of the system is varies, then you try to basically limit into the properties at a particular coordinate for your control system. Okay. So if we talk about the steady-state distributed system, the ordinary differential equation that are of interest have a shape of this. dx over dz is a function of z and x, where the space is between A and B. The corresponding boundary conditions, the three boundary conditions that we discussed, the Dirichlet boundary conditions, von Neumann boundary conditions, or the Robin boundary condition, can be expressed in terms of these equations in here. AXA plus BXB is equal C, where A, B, and C are matrices if the boundary conditions are linear. So we are talking about the linear boundary condition, which is already, it's basically in most of the cases that can explain the your system. Okay, in order for you to be able to solve your problem, then the number of your boundary condition should be the same as the number of states in the ODE. So if your ODE is a second order, you need two boundary conditions. If your ordinary differential equation is first order, you need one boundary conditions only. If your ordinary differential equation is third order, meaning you need three boundary conditions. If your partial differential equation contains first order term with respect to time and second order with respect to space, then you also need an initial condition, that is the property of the value of your property at the time t equal 0. Okay, so these are something that will come much more clear when we go into an example, which I think we would limit ourselves into a simple problem in here. A split boundary value problem is a problem where the boundary conditions are described in separate equation. So meaning your XA and XB in here do not present in the same equation. Okay. So for the tube, the description of inlet condition, one set of BC equation, and the description of outlet condition, another set of BC equation, will be representing this so-called a split boundary value problem. I know that these things is a bit abstract, but chemical engineering is always like this. I mean, cannot give everything easily. So you need to always go and refer back into the problem, into the example, into the solved problem, to be able to understand more. So the two methods that we will discuss or we will cover in this process modeling is one is called the shooting method and the finite difference method. The shooting method is the one that I show you we use for the paper that we submitted that we published in American Institute of Chemical Engineering journal. So one of your senior, he programmed using a shooting method as I instructed him. So this one can only be used for ordinary differential equations. Whereas the finite difference method, this one is more general. It can be used for ordinary differential equations and partial differential equation. So how do you use the shooting method? So the shooting method in here is, for example, if you are dealing with the initial value problem, okay? This is a special case of the boundary value problem with the boundary conditions only at the first boundary. So meaning we can solve this by integrating the ordinary differential equation in space using the boundary condition as the initial values. The boundary value problem in here becomes an initial value problem. These are the example. The tubular reactor without dispersion. So if you have an isothermal tubular reactor like the one shown in here, isothermal meaning that the temperature is constant, and in here you only have a first order of the reaction A become B. The velocity profile is assumed to be plug flow, so that the Vz will be constant. Without going, or actually if you want to go into the derivations, you can go into this slide of that I showed in here. Okay, the derivation of this, why we get this, oh not this one, this one is different one. We will go into another example, but you can find, you can use the same derivations that we use in here, except that you have to replace, I mean, we don't have this term in here. We don't have the division term in here. You can derive it, and then you can get this particular equations. So if we know at the inlet the concentration is C naught, okay, then we assume that the velocity is equal 1, K is equal 10, everything is constant, the inlet concentration is 1, and the reactor length is 0.35. Then what we can do is we make a firstly we make a function file in the MATLAB that describe the ordinary differential equation. The ordinary differential equation that we meant is this one, this term in here. Okay, so you see that this dc is equal minus K divided by V multiplied by C. So meaning we move this V into the right hand side. So that will be minus K divided by V multiplied by the CA. That is what is expressed by this last line in this particular program. So this will calculate whatever the value of this one based on the input of the time and the input of the C that is given to this particular function. Okay, your function will have to have a name equal to this one. So this one actually the name is supposed to be tube X1. Okay, so I make a mistake in here that I need to correct. So this one is supposed to be tube X1. Okay, if the name of your M file is not the same with this in here, then your function will not run. It's very important. Okay, guys, I need to correct these things by changing it into tube X1. Then the reactor profile can be found by using an ODE solver. So you put in this one, you use an ODE solver, you call your ordinary differential function file, and then you want to solve it from 0 up to 0.35. You can see 0 until 0.35 with the initial guess of your C, which is 1. Okay, then you plot Ty, X label reactor length, Y label concentration. Then you basically solve this problem. So this problem is quite easy because this is just an initial value problem that you solve also in your transient lump model. Okay. Now, with the shooting method, this becomes a little bit complicated, a little bit complex. Well, not very complex. It's just a little bit complex. Okay. So how do we go with these things? Let me go here. Okay. So in the general case of the boundary conditions, there is normally a mixture of the boundary conditions at the beginning and at the end of the interval. So the shooting method is quite simple. It's you guess the boundary condition at the first border. So you take a guess value. You take a guess value first. Then you solve the ordinary differential equation from A to B. Then you check the property value after the integrations at z equal b. If they are not the same, then you need to go back into number 1. So this can be taken as an iteration problem where you keep on iterating until the result of the integrations give you the property that are identical to the property defined in your boundary condition. Okay, at z equal b. That property can be temperature, that property can be concentration, can be anything. Or another way to view these things is that you can view this as a nonlinear problem where a gas result in a residual. So meaning you can make your problem, your model as a nonlinear problem using an ODE23 as your solver. Okay. So in each iterations, the equation solver will calculate the new gas using the residual. So how do we do these things in here? So if I go and talk about this, is basically instead of knowing the initial value of the C in here equal 1, what we for the general problem is what we know is the C value at the end of your tube. So that makes it a bit complicated. Meaning you cannot start your problem because you don't have the initial gas. So you have to use an initial gas. Then you calculate everything up to the end, and then you need to compare whatever the value of your concentrations you get at this particular point, the end point, whether it matches your boundary conditions or not. If it matches, meaning you get the right concentration profile in the tube. So the problem becomes slightly more complex. Okay. So now what we did in here is assume that your CL is equal 0.05. A function that calculates the residual between the assumed outlet concentration and calculated is listed below. So this one is basically using the same tube X in here. Okay, but the difference is that it's basically once it's calculating the residual between the concentration that you get from your ODE23, okay, with respect to the one that you get from this, that has to be matching 0.05. So this so what happens is that you put in the value of your C naught. This is the initial gas, okay. Then the CL is defined as 0.05. Then you put in your solver ODE23, which you call the tube X, and then this ODE solver will give you a matrix of Z and C, a factor of Z and C. Then you take in the value at the end of your from the solver. That the residual will be equal to the 0.05 minus the last concentration factor in your factor. So if I break it down into these things to make it more clear, is this one that I put in your additional material. It may come a bit abstract for you that doesn't understand the MATLAB, but if you try to understand more, then you will understand. Okay. This is at concentration at the outlet, which is defined. So this is your boundary condition, right? What you mean by the max size C is this C is coming from your ODE solver. So your ODE solver will give you something like this. So this is the beginning, for example. If you finish after that one is finished, then you will have this one. Whatever the size of the C in here is 13.1. So max size C is equal to the amount of your factor 13. So this will basically take the less value of your concentrations. The concentration at Z equals 0.35 is equal to the Cn. Okay. Then what you do is from this one, basically you zero the function. So you are putting it as a nonlinear problem, because this F0 is basically giving you a value of the C that makes this function, whatever this function in here, becomes equal to 0. Okay, so in this case, the residual, you want the residual to be 0, and you start your initial guess of your C naught will be equal to 1. So you get that your initial condition your C should be equal to 1.666664 in order for your C to be equal to 0.05. So this one is in here, 0.05, you see in here. So these are what come out in the initial, in the beginning. If you use your C equal to 1, if you solve it, you will find that your Cn will be equal to 0.03. So that means that your C at Z equals 0 should be higher than 1. Then because you use an F0, you can find that the value of 1.66664 is the one that satisfies this particular condition. So MATLAB in here is very versatile tool, because using the MATLAB, you can also use modifications of the toolbox. So you use ODE23 and then you use this F0 to use your shooting method. Anybody get it clear up to this point? It may come a bit abstract to all of you. Anybody that get confused with this logic in here, you need to go back again into the code in here and try to digest how does this work. Okay, the note that I give in here is to give you a hint into how the code works. Okay, there is no way I can really I try to explain these things, but if you don't really understand how the coding is working, then it's a bit difficult as well. But if you have any questions anyway, you can ask me now. If not, then I continue into the next material. Okay, so that's how Bernd Nielsen used the MATLAB code to use the nonlinear function toolbox to get the value of the C. Okay, now we move into the second order ordinary differential equations. Okay, the second order ODE can be rewritten as a two first order ODE. So let's say you have something like this. Okay, we can introduce a differential equation. So dy over dz is equal x1. Therefore, your second order derivative, this one, has become dx1 over dz. Therefore, instead of expressing as one ordinary differential equation, you have two. This one and the second one in here. This second one is actually coming from this one, but you substitute this dy over dz with respect to x1. So instead of dealing with the one second order ODE, you are dealing with two first order ODE, which can be converted into a matrix form. Okay, so this is what we call in chemical engineering into a state space form. Now we go into another example. It's called a tubular reactor with dispersion. A tubular reactor has a plug flow velocity profile, an axial dispersion, and a first order reaction. Dispersion, like we discussed, is described the microscopic emission of small element caused by turbulent effects. You will ask me, sir, how do you get, or Jaka, how do you get this one? Right? What you get in here is this one. So this is something that you want to understand, because this may come out in your test too. Okay, I give you a little bit of hints into your test too, so later you don't get caught in surprise, meaning that this is how we derive. Normally in we derive in transfer phenomena, but in here I need to give you a little bit of introduction so that you know how to derive this particular second order ordinary differential equation, so that you don't just get it and then use it without any derivations, because the important part of chemical engineering when we go into the complete picture is the derivation of the model. So you convert the physical systems into the model, but that will not be finished. Okay, that part can sometimes be a bit difficult. So transfer phenomena deal a lot with how you converted a physical systems into a distributed model. That one came from University of Wisconsin in US in 1960. So Bert, Stewart, and Lightfoot are the people who are they are the first people, the inventor of this transfer phenomena. Instead of going into the LAM model, they go deeper into the distributed model to inspect the property of the system so that they can get much more insights into the system. Once you get the model, it's not going to be easy. You have to solve the model and bring it back into the physical interpretation. So in solving the model, you are dealing a lot with the numerical methods. You can use an analytical or you use a numerical method. For analytical method, there is only a limited amount of the analytical problem that you can solve. But chemical engineering, when they solve a problem of transfer phenomena in the research paper, they most of the time use numerical methods. Okay, so MATLAB is very important in this regard. So meaning that you need to, this is given in the process modeling, all the examples just in the form of something that is quite simpler, can be digested by you if you try. So there are two parts. So transfer phenomena and process modeling that I give my units are basically complementing each other. One is giving on the model mainly, and then the other one is giving you the way to solve that particular model. So how you simulate that. Okay. So how do we do that thing in here? So imagine you have a shell elements in here with the thickness of delta z. Your z is taken in the direction, in the axial directions down the tube. Your r, the radial, is of course you take 0 from this particular point. Normally it goes out. Okay. Let's take a shell elements with the thickness of delta z. Then your in, you need to go with the in-out consumption. In is by convective. So this is a mass transfer by convection. This is a mass transfer by dispersion. There is something that goes in. There is something that goes out, and then you also have a consumption. You need to verify the unit for your convection. What is the unit? So like I put in here, this has to cancel each other and convert into kilogram mole per second. As well, you need to understand what is your value of your reaction rate in here, because this is a first order reaction rate, then it has a unit of 1/s, for example. Okay, then you divide by a z, delta z. Divide by the volume of your shell element. Then you take the limit as delta z approaching 0. At this particular point, don't take any of this property outside of the brackets, because you don't know which property in here is constant or which one change with respect to z, until you put in assumption. Okay, so you don't do that thing at this particular moment. Just leave the variables inside the brackets. As we go into transfer phenomena, then it becomes apparent why one property goes out, why another property stays in the brackets. Now we define that the phi is constant, so we can take the phi outside of the derivative in here. Then we can substitute the fixed first law for the binary diffusion mixture into this one is axial dispersion. It has the same form as a fixed first law, but diffusion with axial dispersion is a bit different. Okay, so when we put these things in here, then we continue, we will be able to get this particular term in here. Then we continue, we get this term which is equal to your term in here. Okay, phi dz over dz is equal to this, right? Then if I want, I move this into the left hand side, then this one I move it into the left hand side, which the left hand side of which is given in here as the right hand side. Okay, then we define x1 is equal to dc over dz. Then we have two first order ordinary differential equation, which is this one with this one in here, with the boundary conditions of this. So you will ask me again, Jaka, how do I get these boundary conditions? How do I get this boundary condition? This is something related with transfer phenomena that I give it to you in here for the sake of explanation. Why we said that, why we can have something like this? Because at Z equals 0, no diffusion in the first section of the reactor, but there is a dispersion in the reaction zone. So you consider that you are dealing with at this particular position in here. The one before 0 is called 0 minus. The one after the 0 in here is called 0 plus. Okay, so in here we take that this, whatever the mass transfer mechanisms at before 0 should be equal to the mass transfer mechanisms after 0, because this implies a mass balance. However, before 0 we only have convection. After 0 we have both the convections with the axial dispersion. So this one will become C in, because this one is the inlet concentration. This one is C at Z equals 0. Okay, then we have these things. This is what we call the Robin boundary condition. Note that we have made a substitution of the variable that dc over dz in here is equal x1. At the end of your tube at z equal L, the reaction is terminated, therefore the concentration gradient is 0. So your dc over dz will be equal to 0. So meaning your x1 equal to 0. This one is called the von-Neumann BZ, because you are specifying the value of the derivative with respect to z. Okay, this is where the program start on getting interesting for those who likes coding actually, because figuring out how the code work may take 2 days sometimes, or you can it can take you 4 hours or 5 hours sometimes. Okay, so basically you do these things that I showed in the additional materials with these following boundary conditions. Then this one is defining your tube X. So this one is basically defining your two equations in here. This one and this one. Your second order ordinary differential equation is converted into two first order ordinary differential equations. This defines that, and then give all the values that is given in the problem. For example, the velocity, the reaction rate constant, and the diffusion. This one is basically the one that calculates the residual. If we want to go in here, then the description is given in here. This one is the t in here is z. Okay, this one consists of two different variables, this x. The first one is the x1, the second one is the c. This one is actually giving the x10 in here is giving the initial gas of x1, which is calculated from the initial gas for the C0, because what is given in the problem is the normally what you define in the problem is the C0. So this one is just calculating the initial gas for the x1 from the initial gas of the C0. This one is the set span, so you want to solve it from 0 to 0.35. This one is the initial gas for x1 at z equals 0. This is the initial gas for C0 at z equals 0. Okay, this one is calculating the value, the last data of your x. Your x in here is dc over dz. This calculated from your solver in here. Okay, the residual in here will be the value of the last data. Then you use F0 to get a residual of 0. For this problem in here, it's a bit complicated, because what you want is the x1 is equal 0 at z equal L. So instead of the value of the concentrations, you want the value of the derivative of C with respect to Z at z equal L. If you can see in here, you can see that the slope at the end will be equal to 0. You can see it in here. See, the slope in here is equal to 0 in here. Okay. Then you will get the value of the x at the beginning with the value of the concentrations in the beginning, which is equal to 0.6182. Okay, guys, up to here, everybody can understand or get even more confused than this. I guess this is how much I can give to you to understand this coding, because coding has to be explored by yourself. It cannot just be, I cannot instruct everything, but the thing in here is giving you the idea into how you solve the particular problems. Okay. Now I go into the last part of the week 8. We are talking about the unstable ordinary differential equation and backward shooting. So sometimes when you use a shooting method for a particular type of the ODE that we have shown, we are lucky because our solution becomes stable. But sometimes it may not, because our ODE may not be may not be linear. Okay, so in the cases where your ODE may not be stable, one of the solutions that are possible is to rewrite the ordinary differential equation and change the direction of the shooting. So Bernd Nielsen in here give us a way of an alternative to solve nonlinear ordinary differential equations. Okay, so if we use the new opposite direction, it may be stable. So this is what we did in here. So we want to solve the example 5.3, but instead of having a first order reaction, we have a second order reactions, which is equal to this. Okay, so we have essentially this equation instead of this equations in here, instead of this equation in here. Instead of this equation in here, we have this equation in here. We want to define another variable which is equal to the L minus Z. So in meaning, we are just swapping the starting of the variable. So instead of starting from the inlet, we start from the outlet. Okay. So if we do these things, then we need to use a chain rule, because L is a constant. Then d double Z over dz will be equal to -1. Then we put in a chain rule all over the places in here, because what we want is the variable in terms of the ZZ instead of Z. So if we do everything as is given in here, so those of you probably likes to go in and drill more into this derivation and check whether I make a mistake or not, because I corrected something in here actually. This one is actually I think this one is wrong one. I think I already make a changes on this one. This one is supposed to be DZZ. Okay, double DZ. Let me go and check again later on. Because that one is 7 April. I thought I have made a corrected one. It's supposed to be DZZ. DZ over. Supposed to be DZZ in here. Okay. Then we can define that your dz over dzz is equal -x1. We substitute, we get these equations in here. Okay, then the boundary conditions also we need to convert. Okay, we do these things again for the x1 as well. Then what we did is we define. We make another functions that we define, and then we make another function funcheck x4, which basically do the same code that with what we did in here, except this one is a bit longer. Okay, because we are dealing with the second order, we are dealing with a different type of the problem. If we do these things, then what we get in here is essentially this. In terms of the ZZ, this one is in terms of the Z. And the value of the derivative of the concentration with respect to time will be equal to 0.3018. Okay. Guys, any questions up to this particular point, or you get more even confused? I need to check something because I'm sure I have corrected this this. I have a typo in here. It's supposed to be the ZZ, double Z in here. Other than that, then I think you can explore by yourself the things in here. Okay. Any questions that you have from any of you? Alvin, Amanda, Clarence, Daniel, James, Jason, Juliana, Chising, Michael, Taha, Usman, Selena, Tiffany, Yusi, Wong Yo, Wei Xing. The lecture today makes it more confusing for you because this is where we talk about the shooting method, basically. So if I give you 2 hours of materials like this, then you probably will not be happy unless if you do a project with me where you try to solve the particular problems for your research or for your something else again. That's why I think there is no need for you to have 2 hours of the lecture with me. I think a short lecture with me with all the important points will be enough for you already. Okay. Just go back and again and you try to understand how you derive this particular distributed model. Okay. This part regarding the MATLAB code, then this will not came out in your take-home assignment too. So don't worry too much about the MATLAB code, but it will be good if you want to try to understand this for something that is bigger. For example, if you want to do MATLAB project for your FYP1, for example, then something related with this transport phenomena, then that may be good as well. If not, then that will be all for today. Okay, I will take your attendance first. Okay, now I stop my recording.